preparing, setting. Okay. Preparing. Hello, welcome everybody to the salon. My name is LaToyah. I am the founder of Untamed Artists, and since the end of February, we have been running a virtual salon. And this evening, we are hosting the Salon Circle, which is a new series, and we'll see how it goes. So now I'm going to introduce you to the artists that are here tonight. I'm just going to go around virtual circle. So first off, we have Cheryl Prince. Cheryl Prince is an actress, writer, healer, who is currently writing plays inspired by spiritual activism and fierce feminism. She is also a creator of 5D musical theatre. She also runs workshops to help people channel their own creativity by using her own magical-based practices. You can find out more about Cheryl on www.cherylprince.co.uk. Okay. Hi, Cheryl.
Hi.
Next up, we have Axel. Axel is from Jaded Jane. A melody, a name on a road sign, some lyrics. This is what visited Axel Olsson in a dream. It was to become the opening song entitled Jaded Jane on their debut album, Diversity. And since then, Jaded Jane has continued to release albums exploring various atmospherical and melodious landscapes, as well as electronic ingenuity. Ultimately, Jaded Jane is a platform created by the Swedish brothers Axel and Adam Olsson. Hello, Axel.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Next up, we have Nurapam. Let's find. So Nurapam Viswas is a fine arts artist who works with Polaroid and scanography. Yes. Hi, Nurapam.
Hi.
Okay, next up. Actually, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself from now on, just because my web is gone a bit weird. So I'm going to next up is Rosina.
Hi everyone, I'm Rosina. I specialise mainly in textiles. So I started off doing City and Guild, and I worked my way through the applied arts, finding a fine art degree. I now work mainly with knitting. I sort of like knitting because it's sort of like that sort of interspersion between like crafts. I'm quite interested. It's often seen like an old granny craft, so I quite enjoy playing around with it and sort of subverting it to make it seem, you know, see what I can do and sort of play with the medium. That's me.
Thank you. So next up we have Aurelie.
Hey.
Yeah. Yeah, do you
Okay,
want to
introduce myself. I'm a painter mostly. I create abstract paintings, playing with color, shapes, movements, lines, contrast, and trying to create emotions on the canvas. And I would like people to immerse themselves into the canvas and feel emotions, feelings. And I also do a lot of collaboration with musicians where I improvise painting alongside them playing. So I've done it quite a lot now since a few years, and creating album covers, but also performances. So I perform painting live in front of audience, so it's been an amazing journey, and I've done that with poet as well, dancer. It's to be continued. It's always project comes and go.
Thank you, Aurelie. And last but not least, I'd like to introduce you to Lily.
Hi, I'm Lily. Mainly a painter. I'm in second year at Goldsmiths in London. And I'm kind of interested in the use of the function of painting as kind of like a escapist device. So my paintings are each painting is kind of like a square from a storyboard for a story that's never going to end. It's kind of hard to describe without visuals, but yeah, I'm just very interested in like fiction and fantasy and all that.
I just want to put a question to all of you. Feel free to answer. Feel free to take time and take it in. But I just wanted to know how and when did the first creative spark ignite into you? If you can remember.
Yeah, I can answer that. Just had a thought about when the first spark, and I think we have it in us all along. So I don't think that, for me personally, I think it dies in us when we get older sometimes. And I just thought back to when I was a kid, and I used to dance, and I used to perform on stage every year, and I just felt that it was magical. And I feel that's kind of what I recreate as an adult. But it was actually getting older and trying to live a normal life that kind of stripped my natural creativity out of me. And so I kind of, my life, my mission, my soul's work is to make sure that that doesn't happen to other people, because we're naturally good at what we're naturally good at. And it's about stripping it away and making sure that our society holds space for us to do that, whoever you are. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I agree with Cheryl actually on that. Like, everybody has this bit of creativity since we are like children, I think. And just depending on how we grow in life, it changes and it alters. I think it grows with us in some way, and probably it dies because like we are just too tired, or maybe we are doing too many other things. And so like just answering that back to LaToyah's question, I think I remember like I used to like sketch, and I was so close to creativity like since I was like in school. And it somehow, I think I was in touch through different periods of my life. And then after kind of like becoming independent and like getting older, I think it's changed, it evolved a lot because because I didn't have much time. I started doing photography instead, because it saved me time, because I used to spend like hours sketching, but just like finding that balance where I could actually do something still connected to creativity, and it just kept with me so far.
Yeah, I really agree with this feeling that we're all creative. A lot of people are creative when we are kids, and it's all disappear sometimes with life and time passing, with the society trying to, it's difficult for creative people, and because everything is not based on, a lot of things are not based on creativity, and we have to fight to keep this inside us. And I also try to make people conscious of that and help people to sometimes be more connected to their emotions and their creativity, and push them to express and do whatever they would like to do, and explaining them that the more you do it, the more it will be a natural way to express being creative. And it's important to cultivate, to develop it all along. And for me, it was more, I think, I started by doing some singing. It was like one of the things I was doing when I was already like a child, and I tried to write some songs, but it's really something I've done just a little, but it was my first creative spark. Then it got transformed in a few things, other things.
What do you think art is? How would you describe art? What is it about art that distinguishes it from other things, other objects to you?
I'm going to jump in because I'm in a chatty mood tonight anyway. But feel free to stop me, guys. But I think it's beauty. I've really been thinking about this a lot over lockdown because I come from a theatre background. So my love is working in theatre, and we haven't been able to. And I think it kind of is in the eye of the beholder that you go, this is my art. This is a beautiful thing that I will strive to create from my heart and soul. And it's, I don't know, for me, that's when whatever art works, when it's like somebody's inner voice, inner vision, what I call inner soul is expressed in some way. And that's why it's so valuable, and we really can't lose it. And we really need to emphasize how important it is when our society reemerges, that actually the artists and the creators are the bedrock of our society, I believe. So that's, for me, art's just so fundamentally precious to everything.
I definitely agree with what Cheryl was saying. I also think that it's something that takes you is something that sort of has something to say, then maybe takes you to your own sort of happy place, whatever it could be, like whether you're listening to music or looking at a painting or looking at a play, watching a play. It's just something that takes you out of yourself, to makes you think, to help you sort of maybe give your own life more resonance, perhaps.
Yeah, it's a language. It's a language of the soul. It's another form that what we are used to in the society, and it's like a connection to our deeper self, and it's an introspection that you make either visual or with words or with sound, and everyone has their own language, is unique in their way to express with their art, and it's something that takes you on a journey that is with infinite possibilities, and there is no limit to what is possible to create, and that's what is so fascinating. And I think it's fundamental, and I wouldn't imagine my life without making art. So
yeah, I think, I don't know, I have a lot of conversations with people who aren't necessarily into art or like the art world at all, and I get it's always a lot of comments about what's the point in art, like kind of making fun of some of the more like pretentious elements of the art world. But I don't know, it's, especially for me, in like fine art, never seems to be treated the same as like music or film, even though it serves the same purpose. I think I was watching something recently with Maggie Hamling, and she was talking about how her tutor said, you have to make your art your best friend. So it's like something you can always go to. And I like that idea of like that's the function of art for the makers anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think I quite agree with that. And also it's kind of quite raw self-expression as well. Like, I think it gets better when you can express yourself. And as like we see here, like we are like all from we're like using different methods to express ourselves. And I think that is quite special. Like we create in this whole universe with different tools and different ways, but it's fundamentally like how we are and how we want to express ourselves, quite like how to put it, like really raw out into the world, and like we are not afraid of that. So I think it's quite special in that way.
Yeah, it's a way as well to show our dreams and all the fascination and passion we have, and it's with no limitation. It's an amazing that's why creative people are lucky in me, artists, to be able to express themselves and have their medium, and we have found our medium to do it. And some people who are not, haven't found it, it's more, can be more difficult for them to deal with some difficulties in life or whatever, because they don't know how to express, or and then it's translated into more frustration, or the way they behave or with people can be affected.
Do you think art should be used to express the pain and joys of life, or do you think its main purpose is pleasure? To be it, yeah. Or do you think it's purely about aesthetics, or do you think art is there to document, I guess, moments in time?
I mean, it can have any purpose. I think that is the beauty of art, like, because a person can be a painter, but the person can paint anything. Like, it could be like a truth about society, or maybe portraying some issues, or it could be a beautiful landscape. I think one medium can express all of that you just said. And it is, I think, the interpretation of the artist. Like, some artists find peace or fulfillment in portraying, say, social issues, or maybe somebody likes to portray pain of the society. At the same time, somebody wants to just concentrate on, say, beautiful landscape. And this happens in photography world as well. Like, some photographers are just kind of looking for that beauty. They're like going around, taking beautiful sunsets or sunrise and landscapes and all that. And some doomed photographers are always like capturing the pain in the society. They are like running around like Sebastião Salgado, like he's just into these elements like so much, like he's documenting the pain of the people, like, and the volume, the number of people like getting affected by these things. So I think it has all the essence.
Yeah.
For me, art is also it builds bridges between not only people, between different ages, but people of all cultures. It somehow makes us come together. When I'm out playing music, for example, I can meet everyone from 1 year old to 92, and when there's music around, we all come together. We start speaking, we start connecting. Everyone has their story, where they are from, but in the field of music, art, dance, creativity, we all come together and we become one. And I really love that about creativity in general, or art, and everyone's included. Everyone, we don't exclude anyone, right? And everyone's allowed to be part of art, and you're allowed to do what you want to do. If you want to paint a blue circle on a white canvas, or if you want to paint some abstract feelings that you feel inside, everything is welcome. I love that.
Yeah, it's a lot about freedom, I think. But I think about pain and joy, yeah, art can express this, but sometimes it's hidden. The joy, a colorful painting can be expressing, it doesn't automatically express joy, and the other way as well. I think sometimes it can be a bit hidden through the art, but it's really important. I think for me, it's also a way to express some concept and philosophical ideas that are in our mind and that we need to free up and to say. So it's like, yeah, it can be so many different things, and it can evolve as well with life. So sometimes you can feel you just want to express a mood, sometimes you just want to express an ideas, and projecting and interconnecting with the society and what's going on in the world as well.
I love that art as freedom, because I've had a very feminist day listening to feminist poets and writers. And, you know, I don't take it lightly that, you know, in Shakespeare's day, I couldn't get on stage and tell my stories. It's not available to everyone. Women weren't allowed on stage for most of our history. So I use it as fierce feminine activism, because it's like my voice has been silenced throughout history. I'm telling her story now. That's what I use my art for. So it's a forum to be a freedom thinker and a freedom maker. And that's why I tell stories about spiritual activism, because we're the persecuted people throughout history that is not talked about. So I want to ruffle feathers. I want to wake people up. I want to shake them and go, how about looking at the world this way? And this isn't the freedom that my family had, my mum, my nan. So I'm going to take that and run with that. And it's, you know, I'm also a working class artist, so it's not that accessible. Theatre comes from money. And I think people need to know these truths to change this, because actually everyone's voice should be heard. And I don't want to hear just one voice in theatre, bored of the same old stories. So for me, it's a passionate drive to retell her story, and that's not to exclude anyone else. It's just to make sure that we're hearing a plethora of voices. And to top that off, I think art's extremely vulnerable, because when you get up on stage and you tell your human truth and you perform in it, it feels to me like you're ripping your skin off and saying, here I am, take a look. And that's ultimately what got me to theatre. I wanted to see humanity at its raw essence. And it made me feel alive and part of something much bigger. So, yeah, it's my sacred act of freedom.
Nice. Anyone else want to elaborate on that? Just going on with what Cheryl said, to what extent, and this is kind of going back to the question as well, do you think artists who are well known should use their platform to talk about political, religious, or social, environmental views through art? Or do you feel like, as Pam was saying, it's your choice? Do you feel like they have a responsibility to touch on and speak about certain issues if they have a platform? Or your views?
I really do think it's I mean, if you are becoming a voice of, for example, the working class or whatever culture you're from, you have the opportunity, since you have been exposed to many people, you have the opportunity to say something important, share a message, and hopefully make the society or situation for a certain field better. And that's why I'm very disappointed in mainstream media overall, and especially the mainstream music business. Some of the people I look up to, who I think some of you mentioned it, it's just the same thing, like with Shakespeare, it's just same thing, just being fed out to us. It's like, I call it fast food music. It's you hear it once and it feels like, oh, okay, cool. And then after a while, you start feeling nauseous because it's nothing there. It's just, it has a purpose, and it's just basically to sell something to us that is not a good thing. So I definitely think art, music has, we have an important role. We are role models because we are the change. We are the change we would like to see, as some wise human being said before me, and we should bring that change to other people as well, because there's a lot of people who cannot still today, or they're not allowed to express themselves, or they are scared to do it. I'm lucky to live in Sweden. Sweden is a very, in that sense, we are free to do what we want to do. And even now in the pandemic, we are, sometimes I feel it's not a pandemic here in Sweden. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but I am happy that I'm allowed to go out of my house. I'm really thankful and happy for that. And yeah, art is a spokesperson for the people who doesn't have a voice, people who never get to say anything to a crowd, or perhaps maybe don't want to, or they're scared to say. So they can be part of that truth through their inspirations, or through someone they're following.
Yeah, I think going off that, I'm thinking about kind of the most popular fine artists at the moment and what they tend to represent. And it seems, I don't know, I'm thinking of like, it's sort, there's this trend of like gimmicky art, and that's kind of like, I don't know, like the Banksy painting that got shredded, and like the Catalan banana a couple of years ago, and it's like that sort of new art that gets into mainstream media. And then there's this idea that all artists are doing these kind of gimmicks and like one-dimensional, one-liner pieces that don't really have lasting impact, even if, I don't know, the like banana Catalan thing, it was kind of, in my opinion, meant to make fun of the art market and how art is presented in media, but then that doesn't come through, those like nuances don't come through, and then it's just more, I don't know, all these same white male straight artists doing these gimmicky artworks, and you don't really see any diversity in the mainstream presentation of fine art. Yeah, I don't know.
Where do you guys go to find diversity in art outside of galleries? Where do you seek it? You just come across it?
I think, to be honest, that's why I make it, out of frustration of like, where's my voice? I mean, it was like being an actress. I was a casting director first, and the roles frustrated me. It was like, where's my voice on, you know, what, women don't go over 30? They suddenly just disappear or become mothers. And then that led that frustration to writing. And then I started, because I went on a bit of a spiritual awakening, and I was like, where's the stories about my first play is about witch persecution, because I'm a healer and that's my community, and no one's talking about witches with the power that witches had, which was to heal and to work with the elements and to do that. I haven't seen a story yet that's talking about a witch that's a healer, and they're all that's been killed out of our history. So I wanted to get on stage and tell that story, because why is no one telling it? And I think that's a responsibility that you have. If you're like, you know what, where does it, I can't see it. Then if you can, and I get it, there are some people that don't have a voice. And that's why it's important to speak up for them, because yeah, when you do find that art that resonates with you and feels like it's got a truth that you want to say, you're just so grateful for the person that did it. I know, sitting in theatre, can't think of the last thing that I moved that I was just like, thank you for doing that, because it's made me see the world in a new way. Yeah,
And then, as you said, and then that person who gets inspired might gain courage to start doing something himself or herself, and that's the domino effect starting. So yeah, the more people that are awakening and becoming more conscious, we will see a more peaceful society, and a world around us, because we need to bring out that deeper, I think someone's Aurelie, you saw the deeper self, to let that be a bigger part of our everyday lives, and we will connect much easier with one another, because we are all from the same source. I myself, I don't identify with a country, and as well, if I go down to the bottom of my soul, I don't really identify as a man. I have as much feminine energy inside of me. I am born in a male body though, but and I'm fine with that. But I on a deeper level, I look at us as one.
Yeah.
I think also with new technologies which are now available, like with the, I know social media is a double-edged sword, but I sort of, like, when I graduated about 10 years ago, I started trying to get into the art, and it was almost like if a gallery didn't like you, that was it. You couldn't do anything. So I got so frustrated, I sort of gave up for about 5 years. But then what with social media, at least I was able to promote myself using Instagram, and sort of able to sort of tap out and find these communities. So I think that the media that's available now, that you can sort of reach out to people and sort of promote yourself, even if you can't get into a gallery, or not, you know what I mean? Like if I know if you want to sort of make work that doesn't have much of a monetary value, it's almost like the whole art market is sort of like based on what your monetary value is, rather than making about what, you know, than making interesting works. There's a way to reach an audience through digital technologies that wasn't so easy even just a few years ago.
LaToyah, we need more things like Salon in a bigger scale.
Yeah, it's amazing I think salons are really important, because it was in the past in Paris, and they used to do it a lot, and I think it's an amazing place where people can be free to express their thoughts and dialogue, share ideas, and there should be more of this, because people sometimes keep things inside them, and it's like create a lot of blockage and frustration, and here we can just explore possibilities and dream and create project, and it's extremely important to do it. So
going on with what Cheryl said before, the reason why I put together the salon was just because, you know, I got frustrated not having an outlet for what I wanted to do. So I just decided to do it myself. And yeah, I definitely feel like so far, having met some new people that I've met along the way, it's just been really nice and inspiring, especially during these times, these connections I've met with some people that I haven't necessarily met in person has been really important to me these last few months. You know, the group gatherings that we've had and the one-on-one sessions that I've had with you, it's just been really important. Yeah, just, you know, art in society is really important, and it's really kind of heartbreaking to see a lot of art institutions suffering right now. So I guess this is, you know, my contribution to making sure artists are being supported and nurtured and being inspired. Yeah. I just wanted to ask you, do you feel like art is a calling? Would you see it as a spiritual thing? Do you feel like you were called to create art? And part two of that question is, do you think non-artists have a different outlook in life because of the lack of creativity in their life?
So for me, without a doubt, 100% my soul's purpose. As soon as I stopped being soul dead, I knew what I was meant to do. And, you know, my trilogy has written my life story without me even realizing it. So it's awoken me up and made me see the world in a new way. So I'm really grateful for that. But I don't believe that I guess going back to what Axel said about us all being one, we're all creative. So I might be doing it in the theatre and as a writer, and that's just my natural ability. But some people create these amazing businesses that are changing the world and are eco-friendly. Some people create children that are the next generation of beautiful leaders. Some people create a cake, and it blows my mind. You know, there's no hierarchy on creation. So it's just that we don't, in our society, certainly a capitalist society, we don't place the value on the beautiful creative acts that people do, you know, every day. Make you a dinner, you know, that's an amazing creative act when you put your heart and soul into it. So we're no different. We're all creatives. But for me, my soul's a theatre maker because it had to tell these stories. So I feel grateful that I learned to listen to my soul. And I think that's all it is. It's where we learn to listen to what some people call heart and other people call intuition and other people call soul. Whenever we do that, it's like, yeah, we're just beautiful beings in the world doing our stuff.
Yeah, I think like everyone is creative in different way. There's so many different type of creativity, and it's all about being encouraged to do it and to develop it, and have the environment around us to like push us to do it, and making us realize that it is important. And if you're not lucky to have this environment around, whatever it's family or friends, people you meet in your life, it can change your destiny completely. And I think like well, yeah, it's really important to push and encourage people to do it, and make them realize that for me, for example, I know it's I was feeling it's a calling, but and when you know it, usually you can't do anything else. Like you're obsessed by it and you go for it. When you realize that it's your calling, it's you can't return. So this moment where you realize it can take a lot of years, but as long as it happened in your life, it's the most important. So it's really spiritual, yeah. Spiritual journey for me, totally.
I feel it's kind of more about self-awareness in a way, like at one point when you kind of are aware of these kind of feelings and expressions that you feel strongly about, that you have to express them or you do something about it. I think that's when there is no coming back. Like you just have like aware of this instinct. It's kind of never lets you stay in peace ever. So you're always restless when this like idea comes to your mind, or you want to express in a way, or you are aware of something around you, in society, that kind of keeps you on your toes. And that's where you cross that line, and then you just keep creating in some way, you keep expressing in the method you have chosen. And sometimes it also changes with like the situation you are in. And it kind of happens. Like I can cook a creative chicken. Like once cooked, I was so bored of my usual chicken in the bag, I dipped the chicken in absinthe and cooked it. So I think it's just a matter of choice.
I think it's about stimulating always the imagination with new ideas, and meeting people and getting inspiration. The social media at the moment help us to see images constantly, and that stimulate our mind. And it's always create new ideas and in an unexpected way. So we don't know sometimes what will happen by looking, reading a book, or watching a film or something. You know, it's
interesting to explore the sort of what if I do this, what if I do that, what happens if I sort of mix these two things together. It's all the creative possibilities. You might put two completely different things together, and you might all right, it might be a disaster, but sometimes you can have it can be something absolutely brilliant, or sometimes even if it is not what you expected, it's something you can build upon. you know, no, so it's not just about being creative, it's like something you could sort of like almost apply to your sort of everyday life as well.
Would you say like creativity is a form of exploration?
Yeah, definitely, yes.
Yeah, I think what Rosanna was saying, it reminded me that it's also okay. The part of the creation is, you know, it not being great. And I think sometimes people can focus on, certainly when they've seen a piece of art or they've seen a piece of theatre or seen something's created and see the end product. But years it takes to get there. And actually that beautiful journey of it not being this perfect piece of art, that journey of the wrestle to try and find what it is and to start again. That's also part of art that should be celebrated. And I think sometimes that can be a bit hidden. It's like, oh, this overnight wonder. And it was like, they weren't. They were working 10 years to get to that, you know. It's an illusion.
I think I agree with all of you. I would like to get back to that thing with creating a stage or a platform, as you are doing now, LaToyah, with all of us. It's if there is no outlet or platform or stage, which is happening now all over the world for the arts, we need to somehow invent a new way. If there's no money for it, then we have to just start from zero and claim our stages. And that's what I'm doing. I'm getting out. I'm just trying to, of course, make it Corona safe, but I don't want to just obey the media or my government because they are saying that we're not allowed to do concerts now and blah blah blah. But yet I see the shopping malls here in Sweden, they are filled. IKEA is filled with people. The restaurants are filled with people. It's Corona safe. And it's just always the arts. It's always the music. Cut the music education in school. Cut the art classes. Cut the dance. It's always the same story, but we need to just keep doing it. Even if we take it back to the streets. There's a lot of painters in Sweden painting on the street, meeting people, selling their art, speaking, talking with other beings.
I wonder, at first I just want to say hi to David. David's joining us a little bit late. Hi. But just going back to what you were saying, Axel, I wonder whether the reason why, arts has cut so much is because they know that artists will keep on creating. Why there isn't money being thrown at it, because they know that artists will just do it anyway, which is a shame because, artists still need to eat. But maybe that's why they're not putting money in it, because they just know that artists will do it somehow, somewhere.
Yeah, it's vital to keep doing it on, to inspire people and to whatever happens. It's our mission to, continue this way.
And I think it's related that, art tends to come with free thinking. Most people that have got in touch with that creative free spark in them or been inspired by something is a freedom thinker. Probably part of the reason you set the salon up, it's all about free speech and freedom thinking. So think about it, the powers that be probably don't want to encourage that. Not trying to say we're all under mass enslavement, but we are. The second play is all about this. That had to come out of me because I was like, what is this mess we're under? But, I think that's why it holds less importance because, even in highly political times, theatres were shut up wars because they were saying too much. And everyone knows in their own medium, pop songs, you don't tend to say it, but, independent songs are, massive freedom. And
that's so true. That's so true.
There's a link. There's a definite link why it's undervalued because it's like,
I definitely want to explore that a bit more, but just want to say hi, David, welcome. And would you tell everyone a little bit about you? Just going to put the light on.
Thank you so much. My name is David Omari. Sorry for being late. I think I didn't read the time well, or I apologize. Once again, my name is David Omari, founder of Africa's Ghana, an art marketing agency and a consultancy that aims to bridge the gap between emerging African artists and the primary art market. So our main goal is to help to scout artists, help develop their crafts, and procure them for galleries to be represented across the world. And it's been 2 years we've been pursuing this objective, and so far we've collaborated with a lot of art critics and galleries to represent emerging African artists. The past past few days ago was one of our artists, Hamid Noti, had a solo exhibition in Cape Town, South Africa, and it was a sold out show in 4 days, which we are proud of. We are going to have another exhibition in Cape Town, South Africa, with 8 artists, 4 in Ghana, 3 in Nigeria, and 2 9 artists, and 2 in South Africa. So our main objective is to help bridge the gap between emerging African artists and the primary artists. Thank you.
Thank you, David. So we were just kind of speaking about art and why money is not why the arts have kind of suffered more so than other industries. And Cheryl was just making the point that it is partly or mainly to do with artists being free thinkers, and could possibly challenge governments and the narrative that they push out, which I completely agree with. Would anyone like to, coming back to what Cheryl was saying, would anyone like to add further to that line of conversation?
I was just thinking, isn't there sort of a lack of appreciation what artists do? Because I think, wasn't there some sort of, they did a survey of sort of people's perception of the most valuable jobs, and artists were put right at the bottom. They were sort of like they're thought out as the most useless job. But when you think about it, if we didn't have artists, there wouldn't be any, no theatres, there'd be no clothes because they're all designed by artists. Everybody walking around naked, no video games, nothing on our homes. But it's almost like a perception that artists just make useless things to go on walls. But there's like a lack of understanding about the whole creative process. And I just wonder if it's just that people just don't understand, or just don't have any respect for the creativity, or they don't realize how much empty their life would be without people prepared to give their life for doing creative work, perhaps.
I think art has often been seen as a hobby or something, as a distraction, or that we don't, when we have time or something. People don't realize that it can be a need, and it's like a vital way to express. But that's the problem with our government nowadays, and it's always been like that as well in the past. So making art has always been part of a struggle journey, and that's why it's so beautiful as well. And it's so magical because you create from like a struggle, and you have to break through something to create. If it was easier, if everything was made easier for artists, it wouldn't have the same importance and passion.
Right about the idea of struggling artists.
Yeah.
Van Gogh, all the greats we hear, it's the story of the struggling artist, and that's just kind of reiterated. Is either the struggling artist or the really, really well-known, famous, rich artist. So you don't really talk about the in-between. And, the in-betweens are also making beautiful pieces of art, and just so many lost geniuses out there creating that we just don't know about, not because they're not making beautiful pieces of art, just because the light is not shone on them, because they're having to starve, because they're having to...
Is that changing? Was it Rosanna who was saying earlier about the platforms that have, the one good thing that's come out is that platforms are changing, and maybe voices can be amplified in different ways from grassroots up, because the gatekeepers are starting to not have so much power, because it's, if you're a theatre maker, you go, well, there's no theatre, so what do I do? So I just went, okay, I'm going to write a second play, and, I'll do some stuff online, and I'll, still get it out there. So I do think we're in a volatile world that doesn't support artists, but actually the thing that artists are most good at is creating something out of nothing. So can we do that again with the time that we're in? Can we create a new world? Which is why I bang on about 5D theatre, because it's like, well, I don't want to go back to normal theatre. Let's create something brand new for this new world we're going to go into, and it can inspire people that are following us to not have to be a struggling artist that can't eat to do their work, to not, you know, to level out the playing field. Don't know what that looks like, but I think it certainly helps having these conversations, because, you know, we all feel the same, so there's more people that feel the same as that.
And I think that's partly to do with technology as well, in terms of music and record labels not having so much power. People can go off and have their own studios and promote themselves, and I think some institutions are recognising that to a certain extent. But I think sometimes people forget that artists have creative minds. It's not just about producing a creative piece of work, it's the mind that's creative. And with having that creative mind, you're going to think of ways to create or find a platform for you to have an expression, for you to express, which beauty of it all, really. I'm just going to ask you one last question, which, you know, going on as we were talking about struggling artists. If you did have all the money in the world, do you think you would create differently?
I wouldn't. I don't create for money. I mean, I don't think it's not directly related. Like, I think, like, if I'm creating, if I'm true to my art and my passion and myself, then I would do what I have been through or express the way I am. I think getting, like, selling one for like a lot of money wouldn't change the fundamental aspect of my perception or self-awareness in any way.
I think, yeah, it's the same for me. I wouldn't change anything. I would do the same thing, creating art. And yeah, maybe if I was doing sculpture, I would be able to do like huge or bigger sculpture, or huge canvas, having a huge, really bigger studio, something like that. That will help me, of course, to create and have more things around me and materials, to push my to make my ideas come true, instead of staying on a sketchbook because I can't do it because I don't have the money to do it or something like that. So it can help for your creative ideas to push them forward, but it wouldn't change your creative ideas. You know.
I had this mantra when I first gave up my secure job that paid me well. What would I do if no one paid me for it? And I just stuck to that and kept doing those things. And I think it's a more healthier way of, yeah, what would I do? Because then you follow your heart. And it's not, I'm not saying it's an easy thing. I know you have to live. Luckily, I've only got me to feed. But I think if I had money, it would be more about not changing my life, but how I could give back and change what I've struggled with, so how I could help my community. Because I think when you get to a certain level, you can start reaching your hand out and going, how can I help these other people amplify their voices? And I'd build a massive outside theatre on a ley line and have a bigger impact, but I wouldn't change the work that I do, just that I could reach my hand out and help other people that scholarships and things that don't exist for certain communities.
But it is a great question, and sometimes I've asked this question to some people, and usually when they are not doing art, they say, oh, I would stop what I do and I would do something more creative. And the only people who don't change their mind are artists, because they do what they love already. So that's great.
So before we end, would anyone like to add to that? Okay, just like to thank all of my guests for this evening. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, and thank you all for tuning in.
Thank you.
Thank you. Tomorrow at the salon we have Confessions of an Artist. to see you back here on YouTube at 7 o'clock. Bye.
Bye.
See you soon.
Bye.
Ciao, ciao.